I thought about asking you about it, so I had to think about it there. Hey, we are live. NBA Deeper Dive Tuesday, November 4th. 4-game DraftKings slate. They did, in fact, drop the late games, taking it lower than 6. They haven't been doing that, but they did it for today. And now we've got this crazy 4-gamer with all sorts of people out for New Orleans. We're going to break it all down over the next hour. We'll kick it to the Live Before Lock crew. They'll break it down as well. You're not going to get better coverage anywhere else. I'm Josh Engelman. That is Chris Spags. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Woo. This is going to be a fun one, man. Jeremiah fears Kevon Looney Day, of course, with no other pay-up options on the slate outside of Giannis.
Yeah, as we all expected today when the day starts, and usually a 4-game slate like this, especially lately with the national marquee games being on Tuesday, feels like you're not going to have a lot of crazy injuries. Feels like you're going to know pretty much everything in advance and have things locked in. And no, in fact, we have two of the most important stars, two of the most noteworthy stars on the slate being ruled out here, one of whom for Zion now it's 7 to 10 days. LaMelo Ball out, that's going to make some value open up. The Pelicans going to make some value open up. It's an interesting slate, and I think probably more interesting than it looked like this morning, where it was all just Bulls bench guy value.
Now, before we get started, I have to start here with this super chat from Langston. Said, big shout out to Eric because of his beef stew nuke. I landed at 16th place in the 5K main. It was my best finish ever. You guys are amazing. So Langston, awesome. Congrats. Happy to hear it. We also need to give Eric his flowers for that one. For that to be the nuke of the night at a time where Tobias Harris isn't out yet, and then for him to have that game, bravo, sir. Bravo.
Yeah, I assume Eric was just kind of playing and, going in the side of Eric Lindquist, as I try to do so often when I pull the puppet out, which I never do in front of Josh because it would embarrass me to do the puppet Lindquist in front of Josh. He would just shame me and make me feel bad and not sell the jokes. But as I know from being Eric Lindquist with that prism, I feel like he was just probably going like, oh, you get direct leverage on Duren. Duren's going to be super chalk. If you get a few more minutes for Stewart, that means that Duren's day probably got killed, foul trouble. And instead, he gets like the nut run out of all nut runouts, which I feel like is the Eric a lot of the guys who are following the Lindy's Leans Line Likes and Locks videos are getting. But I'm seeing this Eric now in person where he's got the good luck charm, apparently, making people a lot of money. And himself, he pivoted a lot to him and Clowney. He had 2 really good pivots yesterday. You both did.
Not only did he hit that beef stew, I'm almost positive 12-0 this weekend on the NFL. I think I'm getting that right.
That's crazy.
Definitely like some sort of double-digit number. I think it's 12. If it's 11, apologies. It's still equally cool. But yeah, so killing it these past couple days. You want to get into New Orleans?
I was gonna say he may seem like a total clod, but he really does a good job, and and really the improvement that he's put in, and he's always had success as a gambler, but I think really the consistency that Eric puts up, I put him up against anybody in terms of how consistent he is across 3 different sports. That's awesome.
No disagreements here. We'll see how he approaches this New Orleans team when he gets to Live Before Lock, but we will start here. As you mentioned before, Zion out, Yves Missi out, like 100 other guys for this team out. I might as well just say them because there's a lot. These guys are missing Bryce McGowan's, DeJounte Murray, Hunter Dickinson, Trey Alexander, Yves Missi, and Zion Williamson. I mean, when you're playing DeAndre Jordan in the year 2025, things are bad. 77% ownership coming into Jeremiah Fears right now. 67% ownership coming into former Golden State Warrior Kevon Looney. We've got about 40 plus to Trey Murphy, about 25 to Sadiq Bey, about 20 to Herb Jones, just north of 10 for Derek Queen, who we have as a preposterously high leverage play. We'll talk about it. And then very little to Jordan Poole, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins. Let's start at the top. Fears, Looney. The Fears one I get. He was already starting. He's not going to play less minutes because these guys are out, and he's the young guy. So even if it's bad, they might just give him the time. He loves to shoot the ball. I don't know what to do in terms of getting away from fears. That one just seems like, yeah, I got to eat this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one I'm on the same page too. I mean, going back to college, he was a chucker. He's a chucker so far this year. The usage rate really going high for him at 27.5%. Relative to the team right now, he's that's court time without Zion, excuse me. But overall, he's at 24% on the year. That's basically even with Jordan Poole for the highest usage on the team outside of Zion. The rates go higher when you take Zion off the court. And he does add assist upside as well. He's been playing fairly well. And, again, like Josh mentioned, locked in the minutes. So I agree that Fears seems like an easy play. The minutes that he's not playing, it is Jose Alvarado coming in for him. So maybe if you get that right, the same thing that we talked about, if you have the high owned play, taking the backup who gets direct minutes, off of that guy when he's off the court, could be one way that you can fade Fears or try to. But it seems like in this spot, I don't know what happens for him to fail. Like, I guess Trey Murphy starts getting usage up more. Jordan Poole starts to do things. That's maybe one way it could work out. But like, Fears the guy I just don't think is going to give up the ball a lot to other guys if he can avoid it. And in this spot, it seems like he can avoid it.
Yeah, and 4,700 is just so easy to pay off on a team that is like desperate for offensive creation here when he's on the floor, at least, especially if they're approaching this game like they should, which is, either they're going to play Jordan Poole and Jeremiah Fears alongside of each other, or they're going to prioritize Jeremiah Fears. The Poole Fears backcourt, not exactly going to be locking anybody down defensively, but they've got way bigger problems than that. Fears just seems easy. $3,200 Looney, though, clearly looks fantastic. Just coming back, you give him this chunk of playing time, a $3,200 center, a good point per minute guy. I'm not shocked to see him be 67% owned. I can see the ways this fails.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of them. I mean, do we know for sure that he's not on any kind of minutes limit? The projection from Stokastic is not super high at 23 minutes, but like, I don't know, like he hasn't, I don't know what his ceiling of minutes has been, but I don't think it's like over 25, right?
We have no idea, I don't think.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, that worries me in the fact that you do have pivots, like you mentioned. I mean, Derek Queen was somebody I think Stokastic initially had more minutes for initially, but he's been playing, really deep off the bench. So I think the assumption would be that he wouldn't pick up a start here or get out there right away, but he should be in that second unit. He's a guy that obviously they have pretty good draft capital invested in him. And he's the kind of guy I think you want to produce if Zion does end up out extended period of time, or if this is a precursor to Zion maybe getting moved in some way. I know that probably can't happen, but I think for Derek Queen, like, you want to have him out there. He's just been a little bit more buried in the rotation, but I think he's an appealing pivot. I'm just not sold on Looney. I think he's a better play than Jalen Smith would have been as like super chalk the same price tag, because Looney's going to start. But for Looney, I don't know. That's a lot of ownership for a guy that can he hit 30 fantasy points that often? It doesn't feel like it.
It depends how much he can play. Like, it was a knee injury, so conceivably, like, he's not in optimal shape right now. If it was like, oh, he broke his wrist, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Like, he could probably just play whatever today. That's not what it was. And they have enough behind him. Like, yeah, DeAndre Jordan's like a breaking case of emergency guy, and Karlo Makovic is not exactly good. Like, they can piece it together if they need to. That said, he's 3,200. He's 67% owned. What does that do for us? Like, obviously, this would look so much different if we had a Wemby or a Jokic that was soaking up some of this center stuff. But it's Giannis at the tippy top, and then it goes away. I think it's probably best right now to look at it from the center position and think about, like, what happens if you want to have this much Looney? Like, what's the impact? Who stands out? Because now we've got no other center on the slate. I'm just going to say north of 25% ownership. Vooch is at 26, but it sounds better. There's a lot of very interesting centers on this list that are not pulling a lot of ownership.
I mean, I love Porzingis today. He's been great. I know you mentioned the strategy
Yeah.
show. The minutes have not been the highest so far. He did get to 27 and change last time out. So maybe he can get to 28, 29 today if things break the right way. But at 6,800, he's been producing, I mean, over 1.3 fantasy points a minute for this year so far. And it's been a little bit better with the splits without Trae Young. So for Porzingis, I think he's a really strong play. I actually got him in the sim I just ran about half my lineups, which is a pretty big stand. He's
Okay.
down to single digit ownership. I'm not as crazy about Looney. He kind of came in at like 45% for me, so that's flowing somewhere else. But point is, I like guys that aren't Looney on the slate. I like Derek Queen a similar amount. The projections for me actually for Queen and Looney to be pretty close. So I think there's ways to not play Looney today. And if the field's going to go nuts on it, I'm kind of cool being under.
I expect to have a ton just because 3,200 is that number. That's going with, and let me pull this up for everybody. We have the starting lineups page at Stokastic. You could browse to this whenever you want. I'm going to just go to this New Orleans game. We're showing our expected starting lineup of Fears, Jones, Murphy, Sadiq Bey, Kevon Looney. It doesn't have to be Kevon Looney either. And I think that's going to be the interesting piece, because if it's not him, all of this conversation is going to change. And even if it is him, I'm a little concerned with how much he's going to play. But that said, he's going to end up in like half my stuff by default. Whether or not I have the 70%, I think becomes a different conversation. There is a different center that I like quite a bit here today. You mentioned Porzingis, and I do like him, but it's not Kristaps Porzingis. It's the process.
That's because that's your former video title. I know you were touting Embiid this morning, but I make the case because I think you made a good case this morning. And I mean, I could say the rates are looking better. He's looking like old fall down and drawn fouls Embiid, but why Embiid today for you?
Okay. We have to be going with the assumption that their goal is to make him play more minutes as the season goes on. Would you say that is correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the case so far, it seems.
Okay. He played 25 last time out. I'd like to think 25 is like a pretty reasonable goal for Joel Embiid today, with the potential that could now be like 26 or 27. I think that's a reasonable stance to take. We'll go with it. Joel Embiid takes a lot of shots at the rim. Takes 6.1 per 75 attempts. It's 82nd percentile. There aren't many teams worse than the Bulls when it comes to shooting at the rim. And Joel Embiid is better than most people. I think he thrives here in this matchup. I hope that he can get an extra minute or two, but I don't believe in this Bulls defense in any way. And if he is just starting to feel a little bit better, it's slowly going to get better. The usage is still there. 33% usage is still massive. 88th percentile defensive rebounder. Great. Still working. 85th percentile assist rate so far this season. Great. Still getting involved. Why can't he just be really good on a day where the most expensive center on the slate isn't Joel Embiid? It's Nikola Vucevic.
I see what you're saying. I feel like the price is still kind of tight for a guy that is not going to play 30 minutes. I think best case scenario, he's still not getting there. I mean, he's producing 1.38 fantasy points per minute. So like, that's pretty good. My question for you would be, and this might be something you don't have a great answer to, but you might, the pace, like the fact it's a pretty big pace up, gaining about 4 possessions and change, and the Bulls known for running a little bit more. Does that worry you at all for Embiid, given the fact that he seems like he barely jump right now?
No, I don't care if he runs back on defense.
Okay. Because rebounding
that just makes me get to an offensive possession faster. Okay. I don't give a shit if they beat the brakes off of Joel Embiid. Like, if they're running too fast for him, they're not going to bench him. But like, if he's not getting back on it because they're moving too fast, I don't care. That just ends the possession quicker and gets it back to them.
Okay.
If he were in danger of getting like shut down because of it, cool. But like in that way, I don't think it affects him at all. I actually think it helps him.
That's reasonable. I just worry about him being able to get in position to do stuff well, to get the ball in the posts or at the elbow like he likes and do that. The nonsense.
Very fair.
He's very particular about things. And frankly, too, like, and this is personal bias, but like, I just want the Sixers to play with the guards. Like, they're so fun with the guards, and it's just a slog when you watch Embiid out there, again, literally just falling over time and time again. He just doesn't stop. I don't know.
What if those guards are creating all this space now? Jared McCain back spacing the floor, Tyrese Maxey spacing the floor, Edgecombe spacing it by penetration. I like it. I want to push back on one thing because I went in on Embiid earlier today, but I didn't have anybody to talk about it with. It was just chat. Now I get a human being here. You said the minutes expectation that you don't think that he can get to 30. And I would completely agree with you. If you go through this list of centers, there's not a lot of centers here that are like playing 30 minutes. It starts with Vooch and then Porzingis, not likely. Onyeka Okongwu, not likely. Miles Turner, he's going to like just knock on the door of it, but he's not playing 33 or 34 today. Jakob Poeltl's certainly not. Now we're into Bobby Portis, Wendell Carter Jr., Ryan Kalk. Now we're in like a different tier. Like nobody on this slate outside of Vooch is playing those minutes.
You made that point in the strategy show, and it did stick with me as I see my Porzingis exposure being so much higher than Embiid. Like, it wouldn't hurt me if I'm going to get 50% Porzingis to shave some of that off and move to Embiid. So I will keep that in mind as I make my final lineups, thankfully, because it's a deeper dive today. I actually have time to kind of finesse things a little bit more after the show. But I think that's the fairest point you've made, is that like my expectations that Porzingis is super efficient. I do think it makes sense given, the fact that he's played so well, with Trae Young off the court. That said, he's playing Orlando and Embiid is playing Vooch, and Vooch has enough of an offensive load. Like, not that he's going to defend well anyway. He's got a pretty big offensive load this year, and it's going to theoretically make it easier for Embiid. So he might be super
Jakob Poeltl, minutes limit.
Oh, there we go. So Embiid's efficiency, I think, can be there. He's better than 5% owned for sure, but I just don't think Porzingis should be 8. That's also the issue I have.
Yeah, so I agree with that too. Like you just said, you had, I'm just going to say 50% Kristaps Porzingis. I agree that I don't think he should be 8, but I think like 35% Porzingis and 15% Embiid is a better balance, just in general, for what that's like section of center looks like.
Yeah,
like, do you like Vooch more than Embiid? Because he's 5 times as owned.
I am getting Vooch dead even with the field. Expected to be 27% owned. I got 27% in my top 150 through the sim.
Okay.
I might get a little bit more practically by final lineups, just shaving down the amount I'm playing. But I mean, I like Vooch more, but I see your case. I think you've made a pretty good case, especially for somebody like me that's going so heavy on Porzingis. Like, if you're not that price tier, then maybe you're not losing out as much opportunity cost.
All right, let's circle ourselves back to a little bit more of this New Orleans discussion, because we have some more intricacies for these guys. Trey Murphy's pulling like 44% ownership. He sees a much bigger usage role when like most of these primary guys have been off the floor in the past. I don't get the sense that he's going to like super defer to Jeremiah Fears. I get the sense Trey Murphy probably thinks this is his team in this game aspect. I think his ownership seems pretty reasonable. We've got him a little bit negatively leveraged. I'm more interested in that next tier. Bey and Jones. 4,100 for Bey with an MPE. Herb Jones, 4,800, just small forward. They're both in like the 20s in ownership. Do you have a preference between those two? Because I think it kind of matters.
I prefer Herb Jones. It seems like, the production for him, 0.74 fantasy points per minute this year. I know Bey had 1 or 2 big games. People are holding some esteem, but he's still averaging 0.7 on the year. So that's enough for me to get a little more Herb Jones. Bey, I think, has upside. And for what it's worth, like, they're both projected, I think, as value plays pretty similarly. But I got 30% of Herb Jones, only 9% of Bey. So okay. I would favor Jones. Again, another one where it feels like the split's a little more pronounced than the projections probably are. But Jones is going to be out there no matter what. I think Bey could lose minutes theoretically to, like, if they went Queen plus another big, maybe.
I think Bey can play with anybody. I mean, I think so can Herb Jones. I just think those guys should, if this game is in any way competitive, I think those guys just have to play more minutes than the bad guys. Like, I think they both just end up out there a bit more than you want, because they're slidable a bit. I have a bit more Bey right now. I think the MPE and the cheaper price tag is carrying a lot of weight here.
Yeah.
My other question to you would be, do you want to go to the like bottom with, is this like, how do you feel about Jordan Poole?
He's not coming up for me at all. And I gave him a little bit of a usage bump, but he really isn't shooting a lot more with Zion off the court. And that can obviously change. But it seems like there's enough guys. Like Trey Murphy has been basically wallpaper to start the year. And like you mentioned, I think Trey Murphy's getting paid enough. He should treat this like it's his team today, whether he does or he doesn't. He's not a guy that's gaining a ton of usage either, resign off the court so far this year, but historically it's been a little bit better for him. So I think for me, that's part of the issue with Jordan Poole is that, the minutes expectations come up a little bit, but Fears does kind of run counter to Jordan Poole and, the upside there. I'd rather play Fears. I'd rather play Murphy. I'd rather play Herb Jones. I'd rather play Derek Queen. I'd rather play Looney. So I'm not really getting Poole that much, but there's all the opportunity in the world for him to get going at 6% ownership. So I don't begrudge anybody that wants to play Poole. I just don't see how you get there projection wise.
So New Orleans isn't the only team that is missing quality basketball players today. Their opponent is also missing their best player. And even further down the line, if we want to get into this with Brandon Miller, but no LaMelo for the Hornets today. 20 to 25% ownership on Moussa Diabate, Miles Bridges, Colin Sexton, and Con Knippel, and about 10 on Kalkbrenner and Trey Mann. I'm just going to open it up for this one. How are you feeling about the opposite side of this New Orleans thing? And what are you feeling here about Moussa Diabate being the highest owned guy?
I'm getting the most Diabate, and I get why, given the fact that he's so cheap at 3,900. And to me, he projects pretty similarly / a little bit better than Kevon Looney. Looney's still cheaper, so that would make Looney come up more. But I do think for Diabate, it worries me because I really don't know that I want to play the bench guy like crazy and not get to the starter as much. And I am low on Kalkbrenner right now. The field's only playing 13%, but I'm getting less than that. I'm getting about one and change. So I don't like the way those splits are looking right now. But Diabate does project better for me. He's been playing well overall. He does have slight increases in opportunity based on the court time without LaMelo, for as much as that matters. Doesn't really play in too much for how I'm projecting things. But yeah, Diabate looks good. I think the Looney part, though, has made me get less of him than it looked like I would get this morning.
6,700 Colin Sexton. I don't love the price. What do you expect his usage to be in this scenario right now with really only Miles Bridges to compete with? I guess KJ Simpson will probably think he's part of that too, but is he a 30% usage guy in this scenario?
He does take a pretty big jump up in court time without LaMelo. And that stood out to me. I capped him, or I bumped him up, but didn't go as high as I think it's been without LaMelo and Brandon Miller, because it's not a big enough sample size yet. I would love to get 1,000 possessions in. We're not anywhere close to that amount of time for the Hornets without the two guys that shoot a lot with LaMelo and Miller off. But Sexton, I put at 25% usage, gave him a 40% assist rate, which is a little bit low as well. I think he makes Bridges look less good than he did last year, where Bridges was a guy I would get every time LaMelo was out. These guys, I think, are kind of nerfing each other enough that I'm under the field on both. The field's going to be at playing 20% plus of these guys. I would like to not be completely underweight. Right now, I'm getting half the ownership on Sexton, a little bit less than half on Bridges, getting half on Knippel as well, who seems to get an uptick in everything, rebounding, assists, usage so far this year without LaMelo. But the Hornets, I just thought somebody would jump out, and I don't think anybody really jumps out in a meaningful way.
I'm pulling up rates for Sexton last year. I took Markkanen off. 28% usage rate. That's just Markkanen. I would say this is pretty similar to that, because that leaves Jordan Clarkson and other usage type guys around for the Jazz. I think Sexton's a 28, 29 type usage guy today in this spot.
Yeah.
I like him more than the ownership right now. I don't want to, because it's Colin Sexton. But it's not like the matchup's not good.
He's pricey, and Charlotte's total has come down enough, 113.5 now. It doesn't look as good. I just wish he were a little bit cheaper. I wish Trey Mann were starting or something, and I wish that the Sexton weren't in, so Bridges would look more appealing. I just think this team is not the team that it was last year, where it's LaMelo's out, Brandon Miller is not playing because he's had a ton of injuries last year too. You get to a bunch of Hornets and they might actually look good. Micic, I played on way too many slates last year. Now they have enough dudes that can take shots, like do something. And Knipple, I think, looms is like, not an Austin Reeves where the jump's gonna be that large, but like he's a guy that's dying to get a little more time to do something besides stand around and watch other guys do things.
How do you feel about Bridges then at 8,300?
I'm lower on him.
Too big as well.
Yeah, I'm lower on him than Sexton. I love Bridges historically, and he's a guy that my data I would push towards a lot more. In previous spots last year when Ball did miss a lot of games on the home stretch. I would have him at 27.5% usage today. I put Sexton at 25. I think that Bridges ends up being the guy who gets more shots. But I think that could go either way. If you wanted to make him flat, I think that wouldn't be a crazy thing to do. But it was a thing last year where like Bridges would be good because there's nobody else besides him that could get shots up reliably and do that. Sexton is now a thing that changes that math enough, and Trey Mann being back in too. It's just not like a clear run out to me for Bridges like it was again at the same price tag last year, and then he had a shot at beating it regularly.
So what else do you like, or do you not like anything? You mentioned Diabate before. Are you a Knipple guy here? You said you didn't have too much Kalkbrenner. Are you getting Mann or Sion James?
No, I thought I'd get Sion more, but I only got him at 4% in the semi-ran, so a little bit above the field, but not a big stand there. Diabate is really the biggest stand for me. Got 31% of him. Knipple, I got a 20, so pretty close to where the field's at, but not a stand above. I just didn't get these guys as much as I thought when LaMelo was first rolled out, and I'm like, I got to scramble and like update to see what's going to pop out here. They just seem kind of fairly priced for this situation, which is odd given that LaMelo was in and priced accordingly as well.
Yeah, I think I'm flipping the Hornets totally. I think this is going to be a real big swing piece for me today because I'm going to get quite a bit over the field on Colin Sexton. I am quite a bit over the field on Miles Bridges, and I basically don't have Moussa Diabate right now. I'm going to other center options. And I like it because I want to have a lot of this game. If I'm going to have as much New Orleans as I'm fixing to have, like both of these teams are dreadful. So I kind of just want to have all of it and hope it turns into a offensive dreadful game instead of a defensive miss everything dreadful game. Because it's possible that neither team can stop each other, and this just becomes the track meet of all track meets.
Yeah, I mean, pretty bad defensive efficiency on both sides. So I think that's it. I think if there were more pace here and if the total were a little bit better, I'd probably get there more for the Charlotte side. But I'm just so much heavier on New Orleans, and I see what you're saying, and I agree conceptually. I just can't get there with where my projections are.
Fair. Before we go further, we're about the midway point here. I gotta ask for some likes. Hit the thumbs up if you can. Helps us out a ton. We want to set the Live Before Lock crew up perfectly. Make them feel welcome when they get here. I also want you guys to just sign up at Stokastic. It couldn't be a more simple process. There's a link in the description of this video. You can sign up through one of our partners. You can see some of them on the screen, whether it's a sportsbook or a pick'em site. Sign up with whichever one you're looking for or more. You can sign up at 10 of them if you really want to, if you have the ability and you haven't done it before. Make your qualified deposit, follow the instructions at the link, and you'll be able to get a month of Sims for completely free. You won't pay us anything, completely free. 1 month for every one of those, and they'll stack up. So if you do 10 of them, you get 10 months of the Sims. That's a real thing. So if you guys want to come in, find out, use our projections, ownership, all the sim tools, everything we have, get into our premium Discord, this is the way to do it because you can do it and it won't cost you anything. You ready to have the Giannis conversation?
I mean, I feel like the same way you usually do when you talk about Giannis on your shows, where it's just like, yeah, he's Giannis and he's slightly easier to afford now, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, there is no barrier to entry for playing Giannis Antetokounmpo today. 11-5, no one on his island. No one else has a 5-digit price tag besides him. And he's basically 50% owned. So 50-50, straight down the line. Half the lineups have Giannis, half don't. Is Giannis in the winning lineup tonight or no?
That's interesting. I don't love the guy making the lineup usually when it's just the ownership is so high there. It just feels like a shot of it being a bunch of 9K guys coming together, or 8 to 9K guys give the ceiling more so. But on the slate, it's like you don't have anybody above 50. Like if you had LaMelo and Maxey a little bit higher, I think it would look better. But now we don't have LaMelo. Maxey and Giddey are close, and maybe that's the way you can get the ceiling. But it just seems hard to not get the 60 fantasy points. It seems likely that Giannis has. And people in the chat asking, like, what are the odds of him playing? He was probable. I don't see him getting ruled out now. I suppose it's like a 10% chance he could. But like, he's a good play. He's still the first game of the slate too. So even if he does get ruled out, you can pivot off it if you want. But I would say more likely than not he makes it, just because the projection math I think would drive him to make it even in spots where he doesn't go nuts.
Right now, I'm like dead neutral with the field. I was hoping you had like a really nuanced take, and your take was great. I don't have anything. I really don't. I'm going to be like right around the field. I think that's all you could really do. I understand if you want to go either direction today because of his price tag. If you want to just be like, you know what, I'm going to play a 7-man roster today, and he's just in everything. And if Giannis has a typical, like a high-end Giannis game, great. And if he doesn't, I'm probably like, some of them will still sneak in. But I think the most interesting question for the rest of these guys is like, where do you pay up? Because it's so unique. So 9,900 for Tyrese Maxey. I obviously went on my Embiid spiel before, but now McCain is back. 9,300 for Paolo, an Orlando team that I keep forgetting is on today's slate. Josh Giddey at 9,100, who is equally as owned as Giannis. The field is choosing Josh Giddey, 43% owned. And then you hit these 20% owned guys. Jalen Johnson, Miles Bridges, Scotty Barnes. This is the 8K and higher range today. What do you like the most if it's not Giannis or with Giannis?
I think if it's not Giannis, I mean, just kind of going through some of the optimal lineups for me that don't include Giannis, it's more of guys in the 6 to 9K range, getting Giddey, getting Sexton, getting Alexander Walker, getting Jalen Johnson, getting Porzingis, and then, mid-tier values, not going all the way down to Looney, but getting Fears and some of the Chicago guys sort of mixing in Diabate. I think that works for me, where it's like, you don't have to take the Looney value, go all the way down, because I imagine that the Giannis plus Looney pairing will probably be pretty high today, just because of how salary works. I think if you're not getting Giannis, me, it's just building pretty balanced, and I think you have to get Giddey at that point, or Maxey, like one of those guys.
So I'm neutral to Giddey. I'm not getting Paolo Banchero. I find Maxey almost impossible to get to at 9,900. Like, I just don't expect. Obviously, he could just go insane in any game. I like, as they get healthier and as this starts to stretch out, he's just not going to stay at 9,900. I think that price tag is too high. I am a bit over the field on Jalen Johnson. I mentioned my Miles Bridges interest earlier. On-court product only, I promise. And then I'm not getting to Scotty Barnes at all. But it appears to me that Bridges is the guy I'm targeting in this range right now. That said, matching the field with Giddey. I think he's the clear second best option. I think the ownership makes sense.
Yeah, Giddey for me is definitely the one who's getting into most of my lineups out of the expensive guys. But I did get more. I think you said Barnes not coming up a lot for you. I got him at 31%. I think he's been the best producer for the Raptors so far. Though, that can always flow, it feels like, to any other guy in that offense, because you have 4 guys that can get hot and like eat the entire offense up and take meaningful shots away. But Barnes at 1.25 fantasy points a minute, contributing and rebounding, assists, as usual, block, steal upside. I think Barnes works. But I think there's something to like balanced builds today where you get in a Barnes. I love Porzingis, love Jalen Johnson, like Giddey enough. I think I like those builds. I like the way they look. And I think certainly the honest builds look great too, but you don't have to take like really shitty value, I think, if you just build with the 8 and 9K guys.
Do you want to talk about the potential shitty value that exists on this slate?
I'm curious who we would even define as shitty on this slate, because there's so many.
So I'm going to set the cutoff at 4K. So everything below that right now, let's just talk through it. Kevon Looney is 70% owned. Moussa Diabate is 25. Jalen Smith is 20. And everybody else sub 4K is less than 10% owned. Do you see people in this list that stand out to you as ways to be different relative to the ownership that we know we have? Because I think there are a couple options on this list.
For me, I mean, well, I have a few guys as value adjacent plays that I like more than the ownership. That this, I'm trying to go through and see who would fit the criteria for what you're giving me here. Kevin Herter's come down a lot for me, so I'm not getting there. 4% for me. Fields at 4.4. KJ Simpson, I'm not really getting. I think what I'm just getting is more balanced builds. Like I got Alexander Walker at 42%. So like 5,800, I think putting a guy like that in. Again, Porzingis, I'll keep bringing up because he gets into this kind of more balanced build look. I think that's what I'm getting. I just sorting by value for me, the shittiest value or the cheapest value I'm getting is Derek Queen. Getting him at 44% right now. Fields at 12.5. And that's mostly because I think he's a power forward who's 3,700. But who would be your leans for the kind of specious value? Because it's really not popping up a lot for me besides like Queen and Looney.
I agree with the Queen shout for sure. I mostly just look at this relative to Kevon Looney. Like, should Kevon Looney be 69% owned if Goga Batadze's 0.4? No. Like, I just immediately want to have like 5% of Goga then. Or Mamu. Or all these guys. Because we have so much variability on Kevon Looney here. Like, would it be crazy if Isaac Okoro provided the value today? I don't think so. He's 1% owned, 5% boom rate. I think Jose Alvarado is the one that I want to talk about because he's fourth in boom percentage of all of these guys. He's largely unowned. And I totally get why. But there could be some opportunity here for Alvarado. He's a pest. So like when he has his outlier games, he could have like a normal points, rebounds, assists game and be that outlier steal game. And that could be the cover for your value. But I find Alvarado interesting at 5% ownership. That's my
Alvarado,
guy.
I think the issue for me is that he's playing pretty poorly to start the year. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's been so bad, dude.
Yes, playing poorly, but also like he got iced from the rotation at the beginning of the year, right? Like it wasn't he was hurt. They just didn't want to play him anymore. And then they're like, well, we have to play you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, they don't seem to like him all that much.
Which is kind of crazy given the fact I feel like he does the stuff that coaches normally like, where he's an agitator. He, can create some offense, maybe shoots more than he should in some situations, but he does create assists and all that. But he's just out there, it seems like this year. I mean, 11% usage, 12% assist rate. He's out there for defense, I would guess, just kind of look through the numbers. He's also shooting terribly to start the year too. So that could be part of it, is that he's not getting more shots up because he's not hitting anything. But I do think he's like your Fears pivot. If Fears gets in foul trouble or something like that, or he just plays really terribly and the coach wants to send the message and bench him, I think Alvarado gets out there more. I just don't know what that's worth now, because I thought he was one player last year because he went nuts a couple times when it was like everybody was injured for the Pelicans and he had the run of the castle. And now it's like, I know he's playing for the job he has to have in the league, which is just not shooting, not assisting, just kind of playing D.
Just wanted to shout out a couple guys in this range. If we open it up to 4,500, that brings Sadiq Bey into this range, who we already talked about. We are waiting on Ayo Dosunmu news. I guess that matters a little bit. 4,400, shooting guard, small forward, eligible. Trendon Watford is just north of that mark. Zion James. I was looking at Patrick Williams. Zion James is at 4,100. These are some additional dudes that are like not getting any ownership, but have some boom rates that are at least they're the optimistic punt play. They're the one. These are some of the guys. Your Alvarados, your Watfords, your Zion James. They're the guys that people see in the ultimate winning lineup. That's like 2% owned. It's like, well, how the hell did that guy play? And it's like, okay, like 15% of the time, these guys score like 10 more than their salary, and they become good plays, and you just never really notice it, and they shake out. But those are sort of the guys that I'm looking at. Alvarado being the top one there for me.
Do you have any thoughts on Sion James? Because he did start last game for Charlotte and he's projected to play 29 minutes. Seems like he's doing barely anything on the court. Like he's not really shooting. He's not really rebounding or assisting. But he's out there a bunch and clearly they want him to play. Like, do you have any read on his usefulness moving forward?
So I think he's a very useful guy. I don't think he's a very useful guy for us from DFS purposes. He's out there to guard the primary ball handler whenever he can be out there. They like him as their only real point of attack guy at this point. I'm expecting him to usurp Josh Green if and when Josh Green ever comes back. But that's what he's out there to do. And because he's out there to do that, he's just going to be looking for himself a lot less. Now, maybe that looks a little bit different when LaMelo Ball's not here and Brandon Miller's not here. But, I'm sure Colin Sexton and Miles Bridges are going to do their best approximations. So, I don't think he's going to have an overwhelming amount of touches for himself offensively, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just seems like his usage is so low that he could maybe do something more. Because, if you're a professional player, 9% usage on the year feels, a little bit light even for the shittiest player. But yeah, and he's shooting well for the little bit he's shooting. He's shooting 72%.
Look, first he's got to carve out his role and then he can worry about getting his, because if he's going to make it in the league, he's got to make it on the defensive side first. So I think he's got to worry about his touches later, unfortunately. Could be a good guy for a couple steals. That's for sure. Suave hit us with a super chat. Is Green a good pivot on FanDuel for center? Yeah, it's probably a good time to pull up FanDuel, considering that's a very different slate today. Very different vibes over on FanDuel. Just because positionality changes everything a bit. Although the ownership will be similar in parts, but Fears is the chalk on FanDuel at 55% owned, but Kevon Looney only 28% owned on FanDuel. One center, he's center only, he's 3,700. Very different vibes because of that. So, if we're talking about Green at center, let's just go ahead and filter the centers here. I'm assuming you mean Draymond. It's the only green that I see here. 20% owned, 20% optimal, no real leverage, 5,500. I would just say that it's I guess at center, sort of, but it's not really a pivot. He's just sort of already popular on FanDuel.
Yeah. Porzingis is a pivot, right? Well, no, he's decently owned too, but
yeah.
They're all kind of
they're both really good plays. They're some of the best plays that you could put in at center. There's nothing wrong with playing Draymond Green, but he's not unowned.
Yeah, really nothing seems sneaky there besides maybe Kalkbrenner, but even that's not that sneaky. Yeah.
Yeah, $8,100 Embiid. That's not the same price tag. I have a little bit more apprehension for that one. All right, have we had any last update 37 minutes ago, 6:15? We're probably not getting anything until the turn of the hour. Chat, if you've got any questions, feel free to hit us with those questions. Spags, is there anybody that we haven't talked about yet that you've got your eye on?
Let's see. We've talked about, I'm curious your thoughts on Toronto if you're getting to these guys at all, because I think they're a really interesting team. Number one, because you have so many guys who've been alpha shot creators, shot takers on their teams that are now in one spot. That's always hard for me to project, but I feel like they're playing well. The team totals for Toronto are looking decent enough. I know people in my chat this morning were surprised Toronto was a favorite here and thought that might mean that Giannis might not play. But I like Barnes. I think Ingram's not a bad play. I'm not getting to Barrett or Quickly at all. But are you getting any Raptors at all? And I guess, do you have any thoughts on where they're going right now? Because they're playing interestingly, I think.
So I ran a sim during the show, so this should be relatively updated. I have 14% Brandon Ingram. We have him projected for something in the neighborhood of 22, 23. I have 6% Scotty Barnes, and I have 2% Jamal Shed. I am not getting the Toronto Raptors today.
The total they have is second highest to Chicago on the slate. I know they're getting a lot of guys there, and the rotation's pretty deep as well. It just feels like there's something in Toronto. I'm playing Barnes. I'm playing Ingram. Not really playing much else. I just think Toronto's an interesting team. Price tags haven't caught up though. Yeah.
Timeout. Io DeSumo ruled out for the Chicago Bulls.
Oh.
I liked some of these guys before. I like them a lot more now.
Yeah, that's going to make everybody look better at this point. I mean, Giddey will come up even more for me too because of just vacating a few more assists and theoretical stats. But the bench guys for Toronto or for Chicago look better too. Like Herter, I thought was going to be one of the most important plays of the day for me this morning, and he might come up meaningfully enough now.
I think he'll be very interesting now. Obviously, the guys on the back end will be making these updates and getting everybody ready as we get into live before lock. So no worries there. 4,400 shooting guard, small forward. That's what we had for Io before. He was 15% owned. We've got a decent chunk of minutes that need to get redistributed here. That will at least minimally make someone like Isaac Okoro as another pay down option at a position that's usually typically hard to fill. He'll go from 5% boom to 10% boom or something like that. Still completely off the radar. But Kevin Huerter is going to pick some of this up. Patrick Williams is going to pick some of this up. Probably doesn't affect Vooch or Jalen Smith in any way. Probably doesn't really affect Trey Jones or Buzelis in any way. Do you see anybody getting a huge boost from this?
I mean, I think Trey Jones would look incrementally better so that he'd be playable. Like I'm under the field on him right now, but getting him at 9%. I think he would come up fractionally. Who do you think closes for that?
I bet him today.
Okay.
I bet Trey Jones over rebounds and over assists in this game as part of a same game parlay.
Yeah,
with my boy Embiid.
He's been assisting well. Trey Jones has not been bad to start the year. It just feels like it's starting to flow back to Giddey as I would have thought in the beginning of the year when Trey Jones kept going nuts. But who's the fifth man who closes for them? Because I think Herter, if he closes, is a lot better play, but he didn't close last game. It was Patrick Williams. Getting DeSumo out is one potential closing guy out of the mix. So I think that's a positive. But if Herter doesn't close, I don't want to be there. If he does close and gets to 25 minutes as opposed to 21, I think that's a meaningful difference at his price tag.
I mean, I think realistically, Okoro, Herter, Patrick Williams are probably the only options for that spot. I think at this point now, Trey Jones, Giddey, Buzelis, and Vooch are probably closing. I guess, obviously swap out Jalen Smith for Vooch if something happens to Vooch, but same situation here, that center. I mean, for the way the team's set up now, I think the most likely scenario is either Herter or Okoro.
Yeah, it probably depends where they are. If they're closing and in the lead, you'd probably want a core out there with all the small guards for Philadelphia. But if they're trailing, obviously Herter shooting would be a little more helpful.
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, this is absolutely going to move some stuff around. But I don't really think it's going to create any sort of new amazing thing. All right, Billy Donovan. The hope for Kobe White is that he could play in a couple weeks. Ooh, Kobe White, you got to get back, brother. You've got a paycheck to grab at the end of this season.
It's losing opportunity to Josh Giddey and Trey Jones. Trey Jones is going to Wally Pip him.
That is not possible. That won't be a problem. That won't be a problem. We talked about, or you had mentioned Nickeil Alexander-Walker before. We've talked about Kristaps Porzingis a little bit. We haven't really talked about this Atlanta team sans Trae Young right now. Jalen Johnson pulling 20% ownership. Dyson Daniels pulling 15%. Not much else coming in here. I think Luke Kennard's a little sneaky for today. I wouldn't be surprised if Zachary Risache, who hasn't looked great so far, strikes me as a sneaky kind of guy on a 4-gamer. But what are you doing here with Atlanta? I know we've already touched on some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should have pushed us towards Atlanta more because I really like them a lot. I just feel like the rates for Jalen Johnson and Porzingis when Trae Young's off the court stand out in a meaningful way. Johnson gets close to a 33% assist rate, which I don't think will hold, but he really does a little bit of everything in a way that I think he's limited by when Trae Young is taking as many possessions as he does. Porzingis gets more upside, gets in terms of assists, usage goes up for him as well. Dyson Daniels, it feels like is a little bit lost in this grouping this year, where last year you had Jalen Johnson hurt a lot. You didn't have Porzingis on the team. You didn't have Alexander Walker and his fat contract, and Daniels could do more. I'm not really getting there, but got a lot of Alexander Walker, got 40% of him, got 50% of Porzingis, which I might tamp down a little bit if he's going to be a single digit owned. And I got Jalen Johnson at 32%, let's say. I like all those guys, like being above it. I feel like Orlando's defense, they're starting to get better in terms of efficiency, but they don't seem as good or as fear imposing, I guess, as they have in previous years. And if nothing else, just not having Trae Young, I think the opportunity is still there if they play well and hang in this game. And for the team total, I don't know why they'd get like smoked here.
I don't have as much Kristaps Porzingis as I want to have. I'm anxious to see what that looks like over the next hour, but I'm over the field on Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'm over the field on Jalen Johnson, and I'm matching the field on Dyson Daniels right now. So I'm taking at least a little bit of a stand on Atlanta, some scattered Kennard and Onyeka Okongwu, but I do want to get to more Porzingis. I'd like to take a little bit of yours, and I think you and I will both be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, we could dock our centers together. We could put Joel Embiid and Porzingis and just lock them up.
You said it. You said it, not me. That's a lot. Okay, we've got about 7 minutes or so before we turn this one over to the Live Before Lock crew. I want you guys to hit the like button. I want you guys to remember, if you're looking for DFS content, sports bets, pick'em cards, you should be going to Tails. And it's going to cost you absolutely nothing if you don't want it to. Head to oddshopper.com, head to the Tails expert picks section. You can see it right here. This is the expert picks feed. Ben's dropping college basketball bets. So if you want to bet on Robert Morris, Valpo, the total on the OK State Oral Roberts game, I mean, Ben's a total sicko. He's going to get you the goods. Plenty of options of everything on here across sports. Whatever you're looking for, it exists here. And if you find somebody you like, you tail somebody for a while, liking what they're putting out, winning some money, maybe they have a premium package that you could subscribe to, get even more there. I'll be doing a show with DK DFS tomorrow. You can get him here. Spags, are you on here?
I'm on there, but I mean, you can join and get access to my Discord. I need to figure out a way to post more that makes sense for time and all that. But I love the platform. It is a nice platform, and seeing the results on there is nice too. And I know Josh, you're putting some unique content on there. You used to put on Twitter too, so that's always nice to get some Tails exclusives.
Yeah, I posted an early draft of my contenders for DK today. I've got that set up even better now moving forward. So we're going to put updates out there. Might even just drop that update immediately after this show. You guys can repost some of these things now. Hit the old fire emoji if you like it. But the coolest thing that we have here really is the tailing the bet experience. So if you really like that Oral Roberts OK State over that Ben is putting out, you can click the tail button. It's just going to pull up all the sports books, all the lines, and give you the best odds right in front of you. You click that button, it takes you right there. Again, free. Come over to Tails. And if you download the app, please go to the App Store, whether it's Android or your iPhone, and review that bad boy. I hope you give it 5 stars, but like and review if you like it, man, because I think you will. What do we got to hit here? Eric says, I wonder who's been most profitable this week. Okay, let's go to the leaderboard. Most profit this week? Because last week it was Bank of Dennis, so I thought you were leading yourself here. Well, let's check this week. Supreme Juice, not you. Silver medal. Silver medal. Supreme Juice, congratulations, brother.
Yeah, what a great
top of the profit table.
Guy is, man. I would tail him on anything. Eric Lindquist, silver? Okay, I guess that's okay.
Silver medal. Silver medal. It's almost gold,
He's the meme of the guy chewing on the metal, and then you pan back and he's in third place. I mean, it's second, but that was the braggadocio in chat. That's not silver medal braggadocio. That was gold medal braggadocio.
Allegedly, Eric was number 1 this morning, but he has been usurped.
Resting on his laurels too much. He got lapped.
When you come at the king, you best not miss. And Supreme Juice did not miss. That's fine, though. That's a podium. right?
Yeah, he's there. It's not first, not top of the podium.
Yeah.
On the podium, though.
Yeah. You waved Supreme Juice all the way up there.
He's got to be very gracious, Supreme Juice. Go like, man, you really thought I had you there, but you got me at the end.
One guy's on the top of Everest, the other's on the top of Bunker Hill. It's not it. It's not it. What haven't we talked about yet? What are we missing here? People want Anthony wants Nuke of the Night.
It's not the show.
You want to do it? We want to steal the gimmick?
Oh well, no, because like Eric did well yesterday. I mean, we're not going to be as good as that. I don't want to tail that, but we can.
Well, with that attitude, you won't. Maybe I will. For the 2,300 people in here right now waiting for Live Before Lock to start, you've arrived at the perfect time. Nuke of the Night. Chris Spags, who you got?
I think, first of all, somebody in the chat said Eric is a great pole sitter, which I think is, or loves to be the pole sitter. That was it. No, sorry to misquote it. Very funny chat. Besides that, that's the Nuke of the Night for me. Kristaps Porzingis, I think, is it. I've touted him too much today. I can't believe he's single digit owned. He's played well. I'm willing to take the minutes upside and hope that he doesn't get beat by Embiid now that Josh has made that claim out loud and it's stuck in my brain.
I am not happy about the name that I am about to give out right now, but I'm going to give it out because it's going to be one of the guys that I play quite a bit. So, do my state proud today, sir. Colin Sexton, you are the Nuke of the Night. I promise you, I am not that far away from Charlotte. Don't cross me.
You're known to love a good bull from time to time.
Colin Sexton, baby. Big time smash here. Do you have a reverse Nuke of the Night? An implosion of the night, perhaps?
That's like that'd be like the biggest fade, I suppose, or somebody I think will bust this chalk.
Take it however you want, man. I made it up 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, no. You didn't think that through thoroughly. I'm surprised.
No, I brought nothing to the table there other than the first thing that came into my brain.
I'll go for the gusto. Kevon Looney fails, and we all go, remember that Kevon Looney slate where he played 15 minutes, got in foul trouble, didn't work out. I'll say it. I'll say it out loud.
All right, this is going to be in lockstep with me. I'm not going all the way to the top in ownership, but the guy that I'm looking at was projected for north of 20% pool ownership. If I'm going to Colin Sexton, I am not going to Con Knipple. I feel like north of 20% owned is enough to be like, that's not my guy.
That's true. Everybody loves playing Con Knipple. People were lining up in the streets to play Con Knipple, and now they're like, they're thinking about it.
He's in the top 15 of ownership. I mean, is that what do you want me to do? There's 5. You want me to pick one of the 5 guys that are actually breaking free?
I want you to pick like Vooch. I want you to pick somebody with some gusto.
Trey Murphy.
Okay, that's a good one.
Deal.
This
is coming from the guy that takes Aaron Judge during home run games in baseball. What are we talking about here? Aaron Judge is in Coors. That's who I'll take. He's minus 1,000 to homer.
It's a slander. There, you go back and find those sheets somewhere. They're on Google Drive under a folder.
We probably both lost to Chris Randone. We should both just tag team jump off a bridge.
There, yeah. He did not have leans, lines, or locks, unfortunately.
No, he had roses, unfortunately. Live Before Lock is next at 6:31. Greg, Eric, get in here before I keep talking about this.
Yeah, it's as if we didn't all do 100 yards and a touchdown with Spags at one point, who for sure Spags every single slate this year would just be, Jonathan Taylor seems like a pretty good pick to me.
Yeah,
Why are we getting up on me today? I've done
Derrick
nothing.
Henry's really good. We should play Derrick Henry to score a touchdown.
Greg, just FYI, when I leave here, I'm just going to close the browser tab.
Same. I hope StreamYard doesn't lock up, because sometimes it get confusing when it locks up. Maybe you click a button and then it's like, I didn't click end stream, and then it turns out the stream ends. You never know.
Was there an admittance here? Do we get to the bottom of what happened?
Well, not in as much as I didn't click end stream and then click it twice, but somehow I tried to exit out of StreamYard last week, and then I guess I shut off the stream. So I stream on StreamYard every day, 2 times a day, and I have never done that, but I must have done it. So I take the blame for it. I apologize to all the viewers, to Greg, to Eric, not to Eric.
All right, because you have not apologized to Eric, you are forgiven. Now get out of here, guys. Get out of here. Get out of here. You overstayed your welcome by 2.5 minutes. There we go. Guys, it is time for NBA Live Before Lock. So do Eric and I a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've got an interesting slate here. And as per usual, Eric, Ayo Dosunmu gets ruled out shortly before the show starts. So it's actually good that Spags and Josh were lingering a little bit, because I've got a sim running right now on my computer that should be done in, I don't know, 10 seconds. And then I'll have a better idea of who it was that I was going to be playing. But just kind of the standard status quo for us here doing Live Before Lock is just before we start, anything that we worked on or built leading up to the show becomes completely irrelevant. And now we're going to be able to break down the Chicago Bulls with updated projections and ownership. But Eric, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm just in my feelings right now. Just feeling fantastic. 12-0 Lindy video on Sunday. Yesterday, the nuke of all nuke of the nights, Isaiah Stewart, sub 5% in most stuff, 6.25, I think it was in the $15. A lot of people making money. It always feels good when you wake up. And obviously I had a lot of Q Jackson that did not end up working out well. You needed I Jackson yesterday. That would have been very fun, but ended up making, just a little bit more than double my money. But I know Beef Stew helped a lot of people win yesterday, which is, I try not to get too caught up in being emotional on the show, because otherwise I get made fun of by Greg. But like, it feels really good when you know that you're making your work help other people and that they're able to make some money off of it. So I feel really good today. How are you?
There we go. Shout out to Eric with the applause break there. With that said, it would be really funny if you started crying over being second on the leaderboard in tails. That would be pretty funny.
I woke up this morning. Just shut up, okay? So I've been staying up very late doing NBA Lindies because the props come out later than they normally do. And so, there's what you would call books that really kind of make sure that you're in alignment with what you're doing from a projection standpoint. We all kind of know what those books are, and they really don't like us this year. So I've been doing that for almost 5 years now. Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. And this is definitely the latest I've stayed up, self-producing, doing some other stuff. So that being said, I woke up this morning, I was number one on the leaderboard. And then, of course, I throw something into chat and, well, Supreme Juice is number one. Supreme Juice is number one. I am but a peasant, like a pheasant, getting shot in South Dakota. Good times. BB-8's pissed too.
But by the way, you guys should head over to Tails. It's free. Go to tails.bet, download the Tails app. And Eric did have a great betting week. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being second on the leaderboard, but there is something kind of funny about mistakenly victory lapping being in second and not realizing until it shows up that there's somebody else ahead of you. It is pretty funny.
I would do that. Like, it's coming off of like 2 days you could indisputably not make fun of me, and I found a way to still get made fun of. So go me. Go me. How about that? Honey, I'll do the laundry later.
Remember the time that she was printing out divorce papers while we were on the show? That was back in your old place where the printer was only available
in your office. In the middle of a show with like thousands of people watching. It's like, I just had to print some stuff off. Oh, okay. Well, see you later. Good time. Oh, man.
We've got, by the way, Joel Embiid going to remain on his minutes limit. No real surprises there. But let's talk.
Well, hang on. The one I'm curious about.
Go ahead.
So there was something that came in while we were talking as well. Jared McCain minutes limit. This one matters to me purely because this is a back-to-back for Philly. Like, we've had a lot of back-to-backs early on in the season, and I'm lucky because before I come on this show, I'm usually already set up my NBA Lindy stuff so that throughout the night, I'm able to do my own betting, able to, throw my stuff into tails and then also be ready for the next day of games. Tomorrow, we have 11 games. I've already done all the graphics for everything, and Philly is on it. So Jared McCain, I don't expect to play on this back-to-back. And so the minutes, whatever the ceiling, the tippy top ceiling of that minutes limit is, that's how many I expect him to play. And so I was waiting for this entire show. I wasn't going to make him nuke of the night or anything because I think it's extremely volatile, but he can go get a bucket, Greg. We both like Jared McCain a lot. I liked him at Duke. You liked him last year, his rookie year. Every minute he's on the floor, I think definitely takes away from Edgecombe, definitely takes away from Maxey. Doesn't really affect Embiid because Embiid, when he's out there, is going to go out and go berserk in 22 minutes. But I just wanted to at least throw it out there that the Jared McCain thing was something I was kind of waiting for.
Yeah, so we did find out that he's going to be on some sort of, let me pull this up. Was there an exact minutes limit that was put in here?
I don't know, but fuck you, Darnell. Go ahead. I'm glad you knew which comment it was without even looking.
I mean, what? I don't even know what to do with this information, though. He's going to have a minutes limit, but there's no specified number. He hasn't played in
forever.
10 months, 11 months, something like that. This is, it's so vague. I don't even know what to, sure, he's not going to play 40 minutes. I don't know what to make of that, that news.
What I think it is that it gets my brain going because sometimes you'll get books that'll copy paste kind of what the number was before, or they'll react to the box score from the night before. I just want to point out that Jared McCain is somebody who's going to have usage. He's going to shoot the basketball. Whereas other pieces that have come off the bench for Philly, which there haven't been a lot of them because it's basically just Quentin Grimes in terms of anybody who's getting massive minutes. But the Grimes minutes, every minute to him matters and probably matters more tomorrow in the context of that slate. But we have so much injury news coming in from today. The Pelicans are on a back-to-back. Is DraftKings going to adjust their prices enough to not have them be chalk again tomorrow? That'll be fun to figure out. But I'm definitely just kind of getting the wheels in motion about Jared McCain and how it's going to affect Philly.
For what it's worth, we put McCain in for 18 minutes in our projections. So that's where we have him projected.
Had really more to do with the pieces around him. Had more to do with the other guys that I want to figure out the minutes are. So I think 18 is the perfect number. I put him at 18. I feel really good about that, but I would have liked to know from Nick Nurse the actual number. Sorry, that's so inconvenient for you, bro.
Yeah, that is something that we are probably not going to get. Maybe we will as we get closer to lock, but for right now, we've got him projected in for 18 minutes. But let's get to the Chicago Bulls and their situation for today. So shortly before lock started, Ayo Dosunmu was ruled out. And you guys will see now I've got the Chicago Bulls filtered here, and I'll put up the projections for FanDuel and DraftKings in a second here as well. But here's what we got on the DraftKings side of things. Giddey is now 54% owned, Eric, 27% ownership going to Vooch. Trey Jones is 25% owned. We got Buzelis just under 20%. And then Jalen Smith also 16% owned. What stands out to you from the Chicago Bulls now that there is no Dosunmu? Is that ownership on Giddey warranted or anything else in general that is standing out to you?
Yeah, no, Giddey looks like one of the best spend ups. We have two of them that really stand out to me, Giddey and Giannis. And, I'm not entirely convinced that the world didn't think that Giannis was going to maybe sit on this back-to-back. You got to get a passport. You got to go across customs. I know it's easier when you're taking private and, just showing up in Toronto that way, but it's still just an inconvenient spot for a back-to-back every time going into Toronto. That's why they're 3-point favorites in this spot. But I think amongst the spend-ups, you're just getting to a lot of Giannis on this slate because of how cheap some of these pieces are for Charlotte, New Orleans, and you're getting to a lot of Giddey. So I don't have any sort of problem with it. I will say this. There's a flamethrower off the bench who has red hair that I kind of like. So we'll see what he ends up getting to ownership-wise. But Kevin Huerter is under owned right now. He's 4,600, and his job is to come out and shoot. And you strip away those minutes for Ayo. We gave a couple there, it looks like, to Javon Carter. Gave a couple to Julian Phillips. I think that's fine, but it's definitely muting Kevin Huerter because I put him in for 28, and he was somebody that looked really, really good. Those 2 minutes are a big difference. So I think Josh Giddey, he's definitely the main thing to talk about on the Chicago side. I'm about at the field on Vooch, maybe a little bit below. There's just so many centers to play on this slate. And Trey Jones, he's just somebody that I like in general. Trey Jones.
Who?
Trey Jones. Yeah,
We've been doing that.
I know the bit. But Jalen Smith
We've
as
been doing it
well.
for like 2 years now. It's so stupid, but I don't care.
It never gets old. Because, back then Hose did not want him. Now he is hot. Hose are all on him, and it is very nice to be him. But Kevin Huerter, he's definitely the guy. Shooting guard only 3 spots. You can play him on DraftKings. I am not sleeping on Kevin Huerter on this specific slate. So he's probably my favorite contrarian option to get to. I'm about at the field on Patrick Williams as well. Just not a great fantasy producer this season. It's weird. The Bulls play up in pace, and it's just not coming to fruition for him. And considering the price point of these Pelicans that are just so cheap, considering the price point of these Hornets, Diabate and things of that nature, do I really want to play a 3,600 Patrick Williams who I have for like 0.78 fantasy points per minute? No, I really don't.
Yeah, so for me, Josh Giddey shows up in more lineups than any other pay-up option on the slate, and it's actually not even all that close. I'm sorting right now by my exposures, and if we're just talking about the expensive options on the slate, we've got 4 of them. We've got over 9K Josh Giddey, Paulo Banchero, Tyrese Maxey, and Giannis. And of the 4 of them, I get easily the most exposure to Giddey. And it's just because I'm about even with the field on him. I am overweight to the field on Maxey and Banchero, but they're so low owned that I don't get nearly as much of them as I get to Giddey. And then I'm underweight to the field on Giannis. So just by default, I did land on more of Giddey than any of the other pay up options, which makes a lot of sense to me. And then we've also got this question in Discord. It is from our guy Coach, because Coach DFS wants to know, who are the DK single entry locks? And I'm about to give out a lot of chalk here, Eric, but that's just kind of the way these things go sometimes. For me, sure. I've got 3 locks I think you guys should be playing in single entry. The field is playing them very heavily as well, but Kevon Looney, Jeremiah Fears, and Josh Giddey.
What happens when Kevon Looney isn't starting?
Then we late swap and adjust if that ends up being the case.
I think there's a world. I tweeted this out a little bit in jest because it's plus 4,700, but I was going back through some old box scores and I couldn't remember exactly when it was, but there's a world where Herb Jones starts at the 5. It's not the likely scenario for what it's worth. Right now, I've got Fears, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey, Kevon Looney, and Herb Jones can play the 2, 3, 4, and there were in some cases he played center. And it depends how many minutes Kevon Looney can get to. We've only seen 1 game, 17. He's a good fantasy producer. It's a very weak Charlotte front court in terms of what they can provide rebounding wise, and all of your upside with Kevon Looney comes by way of boards and just putbacks. But I just want to at least throw it out there that if something random shows up, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked to get a DeAndre Jordan start. Derek Queen, I think, is. I know. I think Derek Queen's the second most likely guy to get a start, but it just depends on how they want to handle Kevon Looney. And so I will say this, we have 45 minutes. He's the guy that I think could fluctuate the most in terms of where his ownership's at now and where it could end up when we get to lock.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is right now we're expecting Looney to be one of the top value plays on this slate. If you guys go over to Stokastic and pull up the projected starters tab, which is totally free, you guys will see that our projected starting lineup for the Pelicans, it's Fears, Jones, Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey. Something that really stands out to me about this slate, though, we have 1 game locking at 7:30 Eastern time. Then we've got 3 games at 8 p.m. Eastern time. If Looney doesn't start, like I wasn't, maybe it came across as a joke or dry the way I answered it, but here's the real honest answer is the way I put it before, which is if he isn't starting, cool, I'm just going to adjust my lineups. There's only 1 game that locks at 7:30. It's not going to be all that hard to pivot off of him if we get the starting lineup at 7:40 Eastern time and he's not in it. Almost all of the games will still be open.
Right. But sometimes when we get on these shows, when I say something, it just becomes gospel. And I don't want people to be, we haven't said this yet this year, Greg. This is something we bring up a lot. Like, be malleable with your lineups. Allow yourself flexibility. Allow yourself the ability to not be in love with a player or a take or a stand. Like the Isaiah Stewart thing yesterday obviously went completely nuclear, but it was just based on the fact that it's like reading the tea leaves. These guys have shared 23 minutes together. That doesn't happen if you go through box scores from 2024, 25. So it just was kind of like my deductive reasoning being like, I think they're comfortable starting Stewart. It ended up happening. It was the perfect run out. and the biggest ceiling performance. But the thing is that if you had Tobias Harris in, or if he doesn't start, things change. Like, things can change. And so right now, me saying I like Kevon Looney doesn't matter, because it could change on a dime for it. And I'm kind of like with you right now. I think in single entry, he's absolutely the block you need, but let's just have a game plan in place for a wonky starting lineup.
Yeah, and you guys will see here what we've got for the Pelicans right now. Fears 70% owned, Looney over 70% owned, 41% ownership to Trey. This is a super chalky team. It's also a 4-game slate on DraftKings. FanDuel is different because they included the late games, which, by the way, there is no way that I'm going to be able to stay up until 11 p.m. Eastern time today.
Yes,
so
you are.
I'm only playing. These games are too. I'm more washed than a recent load of laundry. There's no chance some of these days. Like, I'm just like, I'm fucking tired. I can't stay up until 11 p.m. Eastern time for
it's
some
a
of
long
these
day.
days. So so I'm only playing on DraftKings for that reason. Usually on smaller slates, I like to play on both because there's not as much to navigate as we're doing the show and leading up until lock. But anyway, DraftKings and FanDuel slates are quite a bit different for today. But as you guys can see here, crazy amount of ownership going to the Pelicans over on DraftKings. And here's where we've got our current FanDuel ownership at as well. So pulling that up, and you guys will see the most popular players on FanDuel right now. It's some familiar faces. Giddey is 58% owned. Fears is 52% owned. But here's where one thing is, not that he isn't popular, but 32% ownership for Looney over on FanDuel compared to his 74% ownership over on DraftKings. That'll happen when, number one, there's just the one center spot over on FanDuel, but then also the later games also being included. So want to show you guys the difference in some of the ownership projections across FanDuel and DraftKings. All right. I think we got some questions to answer. So let's hit on those. And one more time, if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's get to the super chats. And what do we have here? First one here is from Suave. He wants to know, is Green a good pivot on FanDuel for center? So we've got FanDuel pulled up right here. Draymond is currently projected for 21% ownership. So I actually am a little bit, I'm assuming you're talking about Draymond Green. There isn't another Green on the slate.
It's the only Green on the slate. And he's power forward on FanDuel as well, right? Because if you're talking about Green, this is just a weird one, because like if Jimmy Butler's out, I just expect Draymond Green to play a lot tonight and then rest tomorrow. Golden State, also a team on a back-to-back. I'll just keep giving those shout outs just because, it's just a part of my process at this point. But like, they play Sacramento tomorrow, so it's not a far drive. It's not a big deal too if they just want to limit Draymond Green's minutes tomorrow. But like, if Jimmy Butler sits out tonight, I guarantee he's just playing tomorrow and they're going to rest Green or Curry. Like, that just kind of feels what's going to happen. They're going to be favorites no matter what anyway, but it's so early in the year. Maybe they don't have to, but I think Draymond only looks good if Jimmy Butler sits. I really don't like him in any capacity if you don't get him sitting. And that being said, even if he sits, like, one of the difficult things about Draymond Green is that his upside on FanDuel comes by way of stocks. It comes by way of outlier defensive performances, which are really hard to project, really hard for me to like get a grasp on when they're going to happen, when they're not. They could happen in 22 minutes. They could happen in 32 minutes. They could happen in 38 minutes. Like, you just kind of never know. But in order to get over an 8.5 points prop, because I've been looking at these props all day, I really would need to have Jimmy Butler out to have any kind of confidence in it.
Yeah, I do think that Butler sits today, and Draymond at $5,500 is cheap enough on FanDuel that I think he's somebody to get to. The one thing I have for Suave here, though, is pivot off of what? I mean, he's the fourth most popular center on FanDuel, right? So you're not getting some kind of crazy discounted ownership or anything like that.
Power forward eligible. So like, play him at power forward, because we have Kevon Looney. And I will say, one of my favorite center plays for FanDuel purposes today exists by way of, where is he at? He's not even on there. Where's Diabate at? Where'd Diabate go?
Diabate is...
So nobody is playing Diabate at 4,400. Nobody's playing him on FanDuel. And there are lots of ways where he just plays more minutes. And I think that's like an interesting 3% play on FanDuel. So I'm playing some single entry over there. I've got my cash lineup. I rolled out a cash lineup yesterday, which kind of helped, I think, for my process of like thinking about it from a prop perspective as well. But I just really, I would want to play a center. At center, I really don't want to bring one of those power forwards along for the ride.
Just scrolling through some of the comments in chat. This is an unfortunate spelling error by James Green. Yeah, unfortunate spelling error, but these things happen sometimes. Let's get to some of the other super chats here. Bilbo Swaggin says, cute cut, Greg.
Great name.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bilbo. I appreciate it.
I was giving you a compliment about it in the chat, but then you told me that I sucked. So that wasn't very nice.
I don't recall any of that. The next question that we have here, it is from Coley Poston. Coley, I said you were second. There's nothing wrong with second. Coley Poston. Coley Poston, I want off of Giannis on my main team. All right, I'm underweight to him as well. Who is the best chance to explode for Milwaukee to keep Giannis in check? Rollins. So I don't think you necessarily need some ceiling game from another player from Milwaukee to justify being underweight to field Giannis. So I have 25% of Giannis right now, Eric. I've got 25% of him. He's projected for north of 40% ownership. I don't think that means all of a sudden I need to force some other players from Milwaukee into my lineups. They're just other players on the slate that I prefer, just in general, to get to instead of getting to Giannis. I also don't love that game is at 7:30 Eastern time. We might not have the Pelicans starting line, but I like having some of the maneuverability. So, Coley, it is totally fine to not have Giannis on your single entry team, your main team, whatever it is that you're calling your main team. But I don't think that means that all of a sudden you need to be like, hey, I need Bobby Portis on the team or something like that.
No, and I guess this is probably the conversation of single entry when you can make lineups. Like when NFL Showdown showed up, it was always, let's build a lineup that tells a story. I think you can kind of do that if you're going to fade Giannis, where it's just like, let's say that it's a back-to-back and they lose by 30. And it's like, well, who goes off on the Milwaukee side? It's probably Cole Anthony in that kind of capacity. He's a good fantasy producer. He'll run in the second unit. He'll get, early run. And then he'll also probably close down games. Whereas days of yore, it was Ryan Rollins. So if you're building, if you're hand selecting, you're not building 150 like Greg or me, or, playing the 20 max stuff as well. I think you're probably better off just building towards the narrative of a blowout and saying Giannis goes for 40 there. And then who's the primary beneficiary? I'd still probably push against Bobby Portis because I think he's still important enough where it probably matters to some capacity. I think Cole Anthony is probably my answer if you're looking for one, but I'm probably not going to factor it in whatsoever.
Yeah. So by the way, Pete, shout out to Pete, Thug Rose Ehrenberg. I could deal with that. I'll fuck with that nickname.
Dude, she's a badass. I think she's pretty cool too. I think Thug Rose Namajunas, she's great.
I like it. Yeah, we do. Maybe we have the same barber. It's
you have
possible.
The same haircut. Yeah, so I was gonna get. It's great.
It's possible. Yeah, we might have the same barber. She comes to Somerville, New Jersey, to get her haircut before she has any of her fights. So let's go into Discord now. I think I saw that we might have had some other Discord questions for us. And we do. The next one here is from Mr. Coolcam. He is asking a FanDuel specific question. He wants to know favorite players at each position on FanDuel. And then he also wants us to give out a contrarian FanDuel play. So absolutely.
I already did that with Diabate. I'm immune from that question of the last part of it.
Okay. Well, let's go through our favorite options beginning at point guard. That is going to be Jeremiah Fears for me, Eric.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on FanDuel.
Some chalk options to start with me. For me, Josh Giddey at shooting guard.
Yeah, Giddey at shooting guard, no matter what.
All right. So now we could get into some more reasonably owned players. At small forward, I'm going to go with Paulo Banchero, who's only 18% owned on FanDuel.
Yep, he's my favorite out of the small forwards. If you're trying to get a little bit different there, Jonathan Kuminga, 6,100.
I'm going to say Kuminga at power forward. He already looks pretty good. If you don't make any adjustments to our sims, you're going to come in a decent amount overweight to the field to Kuminga. And this is something I think you should be doing on the FanDuel slate. So if you guys are playing on FanDuel today, Jimmy Butler, questionable. I don't think he plays. Eric, I don't know if you've given an official guess, but you seem to be more leaning towards the side of Jimmy Butler not playing.
Agreed.
I think you should do ROI boost to Steph Curry, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green on FanDuel for tonight.
Yeah, last night I bet the Suns at plus 380, and then I bet them again at plus 375. And then I bet them again this morning at plus 390. And now they're inside of plus 300. Again, I had a pretty good sense that somebody was going to sit with the back-to-back coming up. Just didn't know who. And then I was Jimmy Butler, questionable in the injury report. And I was like, all right, well, we're going to go watch the Suns lose by 30 tonight. This will be fun.
I have gotten hilariously killed on some just obviously good CLV spots recently. Yeah. One of them last night, I got in on the Blazers right as Luka and Reeves got rolled out. So I had the Blazers. I think the line was minus 2.5 or 3.5. I forget which number it was. It weren't even. They looked terrible last night.
Yeah, it was like 8.5 or something, and when it closed,
I think it closed at 10 actually. And
then Marcus Smart happened. Like DeAndre Ayton didn't get a fifth. He had 5 fouls, like 10:45 left, and he should have had like 4 or 5 foul calls on him to finish out that fourth quarter, and the ref just wouldn't blow the whistle. It was insane to watch.
I had technically I had both sides of this, but the Warriors-Bucks game, because I bet the Bucks earlier in the day. I thought they had value, and then Giannis gets ruled out. I go, fuck. And I was able to get a bunch of money down on the Warriors on the other side, and then the Warriors just outright lose to the Bucks without Giannis. So some recent CLV spots have not come remotely close to coming through for me, but
we all go through those stretches, Greg. You're going to be okay. You can be number 2 on the leaderboard one day.
Supreme, as long as our Lord and Savior Supreme Juice is number 1.
Supreme Juice, fuck that guy.
Eric's, you're looking right. I mean, we're all looking up at Supreme Juice over on Tails, number 1 on the leaderboard right now. Anyway,
it'd be tough for me to claim 70 units, Greg, betting the way that I do. It'd be tough to find.
Either way, Warriors. I think that's the spot to be boosting and getting ahead of the market on, is trying to get on those Warriors guys. Once again, reiterate: Jonathan Kuminga, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. But at power forward, I'm going to give out Kuminga here, and then finally at center, I am going to go with Looney, and then obviously on FanDuel, if he's not starting, just update your lineups and pivot there. Is your favorite overall center? Is it Diabate, or are you going to go?
No, it's just a low-owned play. I can't really justify going to Quentin Post. I thought about it. I thought about putting him into the pool to some extent. I think my favorite is Mark Williams. My favorite tournament play period is Mark Williams on FanDuel.
I did post a bet, pun intended, on Quentin Post earlier today on Tails. I think I bet him. What was it, like over 12.5 PRA at plus money or something like that? Yeah. So once again, hoping that Jimmy Butler ends up sitting today, my mortal enemy.
He's more of a 2-game slate play on DK. FanDuel, you don't really get the boost for the threes. Like, his upside is by way of knocking down 3 or 4 threes from the outside. And like, it's not going to get you there on FanDuel, where there's going to be centers get 4 or 5 blocks.
Contrarian play for me on FanDuel. I know this is a brutally hard matchup, but James Harden is 15% owned at $8,800 against OKC today.
Yep.
The downside, the matchup, there's a significant chance of a blowout, especially with Chet Holmgren playing. But the other part of this, too, is there is no Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers. James Harden is a contrarian option at a fairly low price point, $8,800. So James Harden, that's my contrarian FanDuel play, Eric.
No, my contrarian one's Chris Dunn by a mile. 3,900 for him. FanDuel scoring. Chris Dunn is my favorite guard GPP play.
All right, let's see what we have here for.
Also, I think Bogdanovich is just out of the rotation for the Clippers for good. Like, I just don't think he's going to play for the Clippers anymore. So there's that.
Could be. Sharon, sup, Greg? Can you run a sim for DraftKings and Showdown lineups, I assume it means? So here's the problem is StreamYard's really weird with bandwidth at the moment. So we run the risk, if I run sims while I'm on the show, of it completely lagging me out, and then my voice not matching, the audio not matching my video for the rest of the show. So that's why I've been doing a little bit more screen sharing just of the projections from the data hub, as opposed to constantly running sims throughout the show. Because it would, oh, here we go. Supreme Juice. Here we go. Supreme Juice 69, number 1.
Comes for my soul.
Supreme
on
Juice.
Stream in front of 3,000 people, just letting it be known. Hold my dick. That's what Supreme Juice came in to do. Oh, there my God. Go. Dude, congratulations.
Supreme Juice.
Just hurtful. It just was one of those things. Of course, I'm in the middle of like really, really good stuff, and then I just troll myself. Guess what? You played yourself, Eric.
Supreme Juice. Shout out Supreme Juice. This is why, if you guys, at the very least, you guys should go to Tails every day and check out the leaderboard. We've got leaderboards for most profit. We've got win streaks for the heaters. You get sorted by sport. And most importantly, you're going to be equipped with the information. This is actually why it's most important. You guys could then come here to the show every day and troll Eric and myself as well once you've got some of that information handy. There's nothing wrong with being trolled for being second, Eric. I'm not even on the leaderboard right now.
Good. Stay there.
Something to think about.
I hate you.
Fair. I could understand that from your point of view. So, by the way, also, guys, we should do the nuke of the night soon. So I'm gonna let you choose here, Eric, because you're the reigning defending champion of nuke of the night with Isaiah Stewart last night. Do you want to finish getting caught up on all of our questions here, or do we want to roll the animation and do the nuke of the night right now?
Let's wait. Let's make the people linger just a little bit more. And normally I'm the person who's like, I premature nuke. So
you're edging the nuke today.
I don't feel like premature nuking. I want to let it last a little bit longer than normal. Hey, honey, 3 minutes. We got time.
All right. So Eric wants to edge the nuke just a little bit. We've got a few more questions in Discord that we could answer, and then we'll run the animation. But here's what we got from Steven Leibowitz. Any thoughts on going to Ryan Rollins as a pivot? Interesting. Another Ryan Rollins question. Am I getting to...
Not really. And I like Ryan Rollins has made me money betting this year. He's made me money in DFS as well. But I definitely feel as though Ryan Rollins is not a necessary piece on today's slate, even though it's Toronto on the other side. If anybody went nuts against Toronto, would it shock me? No. But like, he's just a dude on this slate. Like, I don't expect 50 like we had against Golden State. And remember, when he put up that absolute nuclear ceiling game, there was no Giannis. They sat Giannis like last second. So it's not really for me here.
I have 10% of them. So not like an outright fade for me or anything, but certainly not a priority option for me tonight is Ryan Rollins. He's just priced up at $6,100. And, just at a point where I think that price is pretty much fair. We did just get the starting lineup confirmed for the Bucks. There are no surprises in there. We've got Mega Elite 1 on DraftKings. How do we like the different Charlotte guards? He's got a Knuppel, he's got Sexton and Man in here. Let's see. Let me go to DraftKings and I'll just filter by Charlotte here so you guys can see some of the most recent projections. But rank the 3 guards from the Hornets. Knuppel, Sexton, Man. What is your level of interest in each of them, Eric?
I'm going to go Sexton by pretty considerable margin. Sexton, Man, Knuppel.
All right. So for me, it is... Boy, I am light on Charlotte Hornets exposure right now.
Me too, except for Bridges. I'm around 30.
Just because he's the lowest owned, I think that Man makes for the best pivot there. Man is only 10% owned. So I think that he is somebody who could go to be a little bit different than the field on. And then as far as Sexton and Knuppel go, I'm going to go Sexton 2 and then Knuppel 3. But with that said, I'm underweight to both of them. And Knuppel's the player that I'm the most underweight to the field to for the entire slate at the moment.
I'm going to throw something out there too. I can't play in it, but actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm able to see it. So this is weird. But anyway, some of the FanDuel stuff is just not going to fill today. If you're building your bankroll out, there's like the 5 cent, the quarter, whatever else it is on FanDuel. 65% full right now with 25 minutes. That's not going to fill. Like a 0% chance that's going to fill. So you should definitely be playing it. It's a $7.50 to play 150 lineups. And if you have the Sims already, that is an awesome free roll opportunity. So jump over to FanDuel, play 150 in the 5 cent. That's how I got my start, 11 years ago? Like, you really want to be playing anything that they allow you to play, especially when there's overlay. So please, if you're listening to us now, just play FanDuel and get in that tournament.
Good shout out. Yeah, over on FanDuel, it is true. I do wonder if some of the start times are influencing that, especially because you think about, the really low dollar, that's going to be more casual players. And you do wonder how many people are going to want to stay up until 11 p.m. Eastern time for something like that. But a couple more questions in Discord, and then our edging will be complete, and we could finally do the nuke of the night and really explode here on screen. But we've got here from GQ1 NYC, getting Brandon Ingram as his third most rostered option for DK20 max. That seems like a lot of exposure to Brandon Ingram. Like, he's a good option, but third most exposed player on the entire, like, I don't know what numbers you have, but I would say that if you have only two more players and more exposure to Ingram, you probably have too much Ingram, unless you're just like not getting to some of the other chalk options as much or something like that.
What was it compared to? I didn't hear the entire.
He just said that Brandon Ingram's his third most exposed player tonight.
That's pretty wild. I think he can be in your top 10. He cannot be in your top 3. That'd be pretty wild.
It's Jay. How much Giannis am I rolling with? I currently have 25% of Giannis with him projected for over 40% ownership. So I've got a pretty underweight stand there.
I was overweight. I have no idea yet. I'm going to wait another like 5 minutes before I finish out this final run. I'm just kind of like going through news, going through some other stuff, just kind of tweaking a little bit here and there before I run again.
And then Win wants to know top 5 overall plays on FanDuel. Let's see. So for FanDuel, the players I have the 5 most exposure to on the run that I did, it was Looney, Fears, Giddey, Steph Curry, and Jonathan Kuminga. So even though I'm not playing FanDuel lineups tonight, I still do go out and build lineups and then do the boosts as if I was entering them, just to give you guys a good idea of who I would be recommending, even though I'm only playing on DraftKings tonight. So once again, Kuminga, Curry, Looney, Fears, Giddey. Those 5 for me.
Yeah.
And then he wants to know favorite 2 pay up options. Because 2 of them are in that list of names right there. Curry and Giddey are my top 2 pay up options.
I'm playing so many like 2 and 3% owned plays on FanDuel today. It's really one of those where I'm kind of just hoping one massive piece of chalk busts over there, whether that's Giannis, whether that's Maxey, who's not really all that chalky, but like, I love SGA at 3%. I love Mark Williams at 2%. I kind of have some weird looking FanDuel lineups, but you know, it's a small slate and I'm okay making some of those stands because like I can just see where the upside is in a very, very low owned way. And flipping builds on FanDuel is usually a good way to go about it.
You know what I think it's time for, Eric?
It's nuke time. Hit the fucking
if you could
button.
just edge it for, I mean, why not? We've already had a good amount of build up. Why not wait even just a little bit more? But now,
hit the button.
All right, Eric, we have kept the people waiting long enough. And by the way, very funny in chat. A handful of people are speculating that we should go with Edgecombe just to keep the joke going on delaying the nuke of the night there. But for those of you who are not informed, last night, Eric Lindquist, he had Isaiah Stewart, who absolutely broke the slate at what, like 6% ownership in the $15 on DraftKings as his nuke of the night. So, Eric, do you want to go first or last here? You're riding hot.
I'll give you the honor because I feel a lot of pressure right now coming off of yesterday. I mean, I don't know if I can perform as well as I did the first time. It's like I was drunk, I was a little loose, you know, and I just kind of was going with it. But now we went on a nice date. We had a lovely day of courtship, and now I got to bring the same intensity here at 4:10 p.m. Like, how am I going to do this, Greg? I'm so nervous.
It's all right. I'm ready here. So for myself, nuke of the night, I am going with a low-owned player here in Dyson Daniels, who is not my favorite overall player in the NBA, but I'm pretty surprised how low-owned he is when you consider the bigger role that he's playing, sans Trae Young for this team, only 14% ownership going to Dyson Daniels. And I just think he's somebody who's being underrepresented by the field when Trae Young remains out for this team, Eric. So pulling up some data here on Dyson Daniels and what the absence of Trae Young has meant for him, most notably, just a simple uptick in minutes. The last 2 games, he played 38 and 36.5 minutes. Look at the minutes he was playing prior to the injury to Trae Young. He was playing 32, 28 minutes, something along those lines. So right away, you're getting like 3-4 extra minutes from Dyson Daniels. That matters. The ball's in his hands more, so his assist rate has gone up and his usage is higher. His 2 highest usage games of the entire season were the last 2 games. It's not a coincidence. And despite that, his price point hasn't moved all that much and the field isn't really playing him. So I think that's a good contrarian option for tonight, Eric. Dyson Daniels.
I really like that. I think Dyson Daniels, one of those guys who doesn't shoot threes, which is always kind of a weird thing, but gets his upside by way of stocks. Like, he is a steal artist, 2.5 steals basically every single time you look at the board. So totally get it. Guys, I will never have as good of a nuke of the night as what I did yesterday. It will never, ever, 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 ever get better than that. It just won't. It's impossible for me to imagine a scenario where it does. But if it did, could you imagine how hot it would be if we got a $4,600 Kevin Huerter to knock down 6 threes, sub 5K, no Ayo Dosunmu, nobody wants to click on him, sub 10%. We have a lot of ownership going in to other guards, but like, who's going to be eating up more of those minutes? And also, if he's knocking down shots, this is a Philly team that has been playing pretty up in pace. They don't really have a lot of defense. Joel Embiid can only play so many minutes in the middle there. I feel pretty good there. Again, Philly not up in pace in general, but defensively just terrible. Also, have you noticed Philly 29th in strength of schedule this season? They've played the second easiest strength of schedule in the entire NBA so far. Kevin Huerter, 7% nuke of the night.
Going to financially recover from this.
Shout out Kevon Huerter. This is a Kevon Huerter night, no doubt about it. So a good pick by Eric, and I know what it is that he really had on his mind.
Kevin Huerter? Kevin?
Kevon. It's a Kevon Huerter night. Got some more super chats here for us as well. And by the way, if you guys want to get into our Discord channel, we've already answered a bunch of questions from Discord. You can simply sign up for any of the packages we have here at Stokastic.com, and that'll get you access to our Discord channel. You can sign up through any of the links we have down below in the YouTube description box, or even better, you get access for free when you sign up with one of our affiliate partners through the Link Join program. There's also a link for that down below in the YouTube description box. For each one of our affiliate partners you guys sign up for, 1 free month of Stokastic Core Sims access to a single sport of your choosing. So take advantage of those offers. We've got pick'em books there. We've got traditional sports books. So no matter what state you're living in, there is an offer for you. Let's see what we've got.
Did we miss a super chat? Somebody said they missed a super chat in...
Well, I just said the super chats.
Oh, okay. Never mind. My bad. Continue on.
Unless there's one from earlier.
No, somebody just said, Phil Senzig, you missed my super chat. So,
okay. No. We just haven't answered all of the super chats yet.
All right. You get to it.
Here we go. Phil Senzig, Giannis, Porzingis, and Looney, or Bridges, Butler, and Zubac. Okay, so I don't think Butler plays today. So that's going to be the first combo for me, just based on that.
Exact same take.
All right. 1-2 says Greg, I'm the best Ehrenberg. Is that like a Toad reference? I'm the best. Isn't that what Toad says whenever all his races end? Am I mistaken?
Dun, 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 dun.
He's calling me Toad. He's calling me Toad.
Woohoo!
We've got a super chat here as well from Jalen Verse. Jalen Verse is saying, went to high school with Thug Rose. Any good player props that I like for tonight? So once again, you could get these over from tails. So let me go over to my tails feed and pull some of these up and see what is the Quinn post line still up? It's moved a little bit, but just because I think Jimmy Butler is going to sit, the line has moved a little bit, but I do like Quentin Post for over 13.5 PRA under the assumption that there's going to be no Jimmy Butler tonight.
Yeah, you want to get down and dirty and get weird? How about a Jonathan Kuminga double-double? I've been staring at that all day too.
Let's see. Blue Duck, thoughts on this for FanDuel? Man Poole, James, Giddey, Buzelis, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Giannis, and Embiid. I do not like rostering Embiid tonight.
I don't like two, James and Embiid. I would rather eat paint. And I have done that before, as you probably can tell. James and Embiid, it was not a fun experience, nor will it be for you. But I've never seen a blue duck, so I drew a blue duck. It's a blue duck.
There we go. Eric Goodwin, Giannis with $4,400 left to utility, or Johnson and Ingram. Let me see who's available at 4,400. Let's see, 4,400.
4,440. That would be very inconvenient if that were true, and we had a 4,400 guy because Herder's 46, right? Yep, my boy,
It's going to be
46.
Johnson and Ingram for me. I mentioned I'm underweights the field on Giannis, but it doesn't look like there are players in that price range I really like all that much. So yeah, like I also have a little bit of interest in Diabate like Eric does, but I don't necessarily want to tell you to leave $500 in salary on the table. Johnson and Ingram for me.
Johnson Ingram. I think Johnson is a great tournament play today. The guy just continues to just impress. Does everything on the floor. What?
There's a joke in here that I don't even know if 1-2 meant it in any kind of way, but if Greg is Thug Rose is Eric Pat Berry, who the MMA space is so weird. Pat Berry, who is married to Thug Rose, also started training her when he was a professional fighter and she was like 14 or 13 years old. Anyway, the MMA space, super weird. They are happily married now, though. Also, I did an MMA interview today that's pinned to my Twitter page on the fight that was allegedly fixed over the weekend. I interviewed the reporter who had broke that news and has been covering it.
Awesome.
So if you guys do want more information on that, go ahead and check out the post pinned to my Twitter feed. But no, Eric did not groom me, believe it or not. Believe it or not, guys.
No, he allowed me to show up in New Jersey on my own volition. Yeah.
The questions we have in Discord, M Grizzly wants to know anybody who I'm boosting either up or down for tonight. So mentioned it on FanDuel. I'm fairly sure this is a DraftKings related question. For the FanDuel side of things, yes, I think the Golden State Warriors guys for sure. On the DraftKings side of things, I am down boosting Giannis to give myself a little bit more flexibility. Other than that, all the games are locking at the same time, but Giannis is the one for me. For yourself on DraftKings, anybody that you are going out of your way to either up boost or down boost?
No idea until New Orleans lineup shows up. No clue. Really, I uploaded my lineups in order to make sure I have Giannis in them, and there's nothing else I really care about until I get this damn New Orleans lineup. So like, we got 11 minutes. If you're in the premium Discord, I'm going to jump into the Stokastic Discord, not just to go glaze myself like I did yesterday, but just to go be actually helpful.
The funniest thing about being in Eric's Discord and having notifications on is I'll just be minding my own business, and all of a sudden you get a notification from Eric, like "suck my dick, cuck bagel," or and once again, like I'm family dinner, I'm out at a nice restaurant or something like that. And all of a sudden, it's just like the most random alerts in all capital letters.
I've been told this since I was a young age, because I'll say stuff that people are like, "Where did that come from?" I think I'm just like an unsuspecting individual to like have really, really terrible thoughts and to have vocabulary that goes out of nowhere. But yeah, no, cuck bagel is definitely one of my go-tos. Bitch tits, that's another good one. That always looks good in writing.
Yeah, what was one of the other ones from last night?
I had a couple that were I was on one just because I was in my feelings, and thank God Trey McBride scored, because otherwise I was going to lose in NFL. Ended up being down a tiny bit in NBA, but
Yeah, here's that notification. McBride Tutty, I can breathe again with 4 exclamation marks and in all capital letters. That's generally a pretty tame message from Eric.
Yeah,
but there's a
remotely.
lot of him demanding people suck his dick in his Discord channel. It does happen a decent amount.
Promo code sweep12. Get yourself a month for $12.
If Kevin Herter scores 40 fantasy points tonight, I will demand that Eric does another discount tomorrow.
Suck my white ass ball.
Yeah.
Oh.
Promo code cocksucker for 30% off.
Oh, we can come up with some interesting ones for Kevin Herter. That's for sure. We can fire crotch it. Fire crotch 12. That'll be it.
Super chat from Eric. Not you, different Eric. Eric Goodwin, Franz or Vooch for his last man in. I'm pretty sure that's Vooch for me, but I'll double check. Let's see. Yeah, Vooch. Easy.
Vooch by a lot between the two. Vooch.
Yeah, that is for sure. For sure.
Is there really a code? Yes, there's really a code. Sweep 12 if you guys are looking to jump it. It's less than 50 cents a day. Yes, that was a real code that I threw out there. Fire crotch 12 is not a real code, so don't put that in. It won't get you anything.
Right. Have to reset my notifications and scroll back to the top because I went back to yesterday to find some of Eric's. And here we've got JAW, any exposure cap on Looney. Nothing I'm doing right now. By the way, Josh and I are going to be over on playback in 8 minutes. We don't have that Pelicans starting lineup quite yet, unless it came out like the last 2 minutes while we've been talking. So, okay, yeah. So no starting lineup officially yet for the Pelicans. For right now, sorry, what's that?
Just sucks. I just want it very bad. Okay. I need it.
I misunderstood your tone. I was thinking the starting lineup just came out and it was something really bizarre. So no starting lineup yet for the Pelicans. It's really hard for me to say what I'm going to do post-lock with Looney's exposure. So just watch Josh and I play back in a few minutes, and then I'm going to be more intensively changing my lineups once we actually know what the starting lineup is.
As will I be. It's hard to know.
Yeah, and for now, like if I had 100% of what difference does it make? Because my lineups are pretty flexible and pretty much nothing's going to be locked in the next few minutes outside of a few lineup spots. But a Ghostface Kicker says that he's getting Looney in a 50+% of lineups. Should he reduce them? Do I nerf his projection in the Sims tool? So if you want less of him, you could either do a negative ROI boost or you could do an exposure cap on him. I would just say wait for more information in the starting lineup and then late swap and change things. Well, like 10 minutes from now, 15 minutes, we'll have that starting lineup, something like that, Eric?
Yep, we will. And I mean, it's a 4-game slate. And so 75% of your slate starts coming up next over the next half hour. So not only watch playback, but like, it's so hard to know until you get the Pelican starting lineup. Cause like Looney, as I said, he's going to be the guy who I'm either playing way too much of or way too little of. I have no clue yet. It's just going to depend on what we get to at, I'm assuming that lineup drops 20 minutes before lock or before lock of that game. So 15 minutes, I have no idea until that 15 minutes is up.
Here we have some of the updated exposures, or I should say ownerships, and not too much has changed from the start of the show. Starting here with FanDuel that I just pulled up. Giddey and Fears are both over 50% owned. Then you've got Trey Jones, John Collins, Trey Murphy, Kevon Looney, and Miles Bridges, all over 30% owned right now on FanDuel. On the DraftKings side of things, we have 75% ownership going to Looney, just under 70% ownership to Jeremiah Fears, just over 50% to Giddey, and then you've got Murphy and Giannis each north of 40% exposure. Who are you underweight to the field to, Eric? I already said for myself that the player I am kind of scarily most underweight to the field is Giannis, but then also the guards from Charlotte. How about yourself?
My boy Trey Murphy right now, which is terrifying. I just think Jordan Poole is a black hole, and Jordan Poole, 20 minutes of sharing the floor with Jordan Poole, 22 maybe for the two of them together. It's a disaster for everybody involved. And like before, we didn't have to deal with that with Trey Murphy. I love Trey Murphy. He's my boy, but he's going to be north of 40% at shooting guard only on DraftKings. That's really hard for me to stomach if you don't run into a ceiling performance from 3, which he is fully capable of. But again, Trey Murphy is my boy. He has made me so much money over the years, and yet I just can't get there at 41% ownership. I can't do it.
Let's see. What do I have of Murphy?
Also,
I'm a little bit underweight to field. Nothing crazy, but a little bit underweight. I've got 37% of him.
Yeah, all the Toronto guys I'm pretty low on as well. Ingram, Barrett, and I mean, they just we need one of these dudes to sit eventually to become viable in some way, shape, or form. Because like with all of them out there, they're all good fantasy producers, but they're playing limited minutes because of each other, and then their production can't really spike because of them. Like everybody needs theirs, and it's just a really annoying basketball team.
Still no starting lineup for the Pelicans. Yeah, just double checking Twitter right now. So give me your final guess. Final guess here, Eric. And we've got about 3 minutes to go into lock, and then Josh and I'll be over on playback. Who starts in the, well, I'll just say who's the entire starting five for the Pelicans tonight?
Jeremiah Fears, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey, Derek Queen.
All right. So I am going to guess that DeAndre Jordan starts at center.
That's the other answer. I just don't think Looney starts, and we're projecting. It looks like everybody's projecting him to start. I just don't think he does.
Yeah, just because we have it projected that way, that's how I've built out my lineups. But like I said before, I'm fully ready to make swaps. And DeAndre Jordan, I know that he has not played since his last start, but we did see him start a few games ago. So I'm going to say Fears, Jones, Murphy, Bey with DeAndre Jordan at center. And if DeAndre Jordan starts at center, it doesn't make Looney unplayable, but it makes him much less appealing than he currently looks. Is that fair to say? Or will you just be off Looney entirely if he doesn't start?
I will probably still have a little because it's just such a cheap price tag for a guy that I respect his rebounding ability. And there's Diabate and Kalkbrenner. Like, let's be dead serious. Like, he'll be just fine there. I want to ask you this, though. Who are your three highest owned players right now that aren't named Kevon Looney?
It's nothing crazy. It's
Fears.
So it's also kind of hard to say because there's a massive drop off for me. Because once you go past Looney, Fears, and Giddey, I'm under 40% of all the remaining players. So I'll just say Fears and Giddey, and then it's kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things past there with my exposures. Because there isn't another player in that tier in terms of the amount of exposure I have.
And we're different because I'm playing 70% Giannis. So I have tons of Giannis. It just is what it is.
Yeah, people in chat are asking for the playback link. So, don't worry. I'm going to grab that before we log off here. But one more time, I want to remind you guys to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go check out Tails. Eric's got a promo going there. You can get a bunch of free bets for myself there. And some good ones lately, too. I had a good night for the bankroll thread yesterday. I hit on Yamamoto 15-1 to win World Series MVP over the weekend. So go follow me on Tails. Follow Eric on Tails. Check out all the free bets that go up on Tails. And if you guys are really enjoying the Tails experience while you're there, here's something that we really appreciate a whole bunch. To help us grow the app, we could really use some App Store reviews. And it's only going to take a couple minutes of your time. So give us 5 stars, write a couple of nice sentences about us, and that is going to go a long way to supporting the free content we do here. It does more than you guys could ever realize. So if you enjoy Tails, go ahead and do that for us. It is much appreciated. Eric, like 30 seconds to go into lock. I'm grabbing the playback link right now. What is it that maybe we haven't talked about on the show that you want to leave people with before I head on over to playback with Josh?
Don't be in love with your lineups right now. You're going to change them. There's going to be news that happens in the next 30 minutes. And I always do this because I always get the messages after the fact. I thought you said you loved so-and-so, and it hasn't happened this year yet. But in days of yore, it's like, well, news came out. Something changed. There's going to be news with this Pelicans starting lineup, and we'll get the official. I don't think anything weird is going to show up with the Bulls starting lineup. I think it's just going to be the Jones, Giddey, Okoro, Bazelis, Vooch spot. But like, you just never know as far as like New Orleans goes. They're the big question mark. I suppose Charlotte's kind of a question mark because Zion James just is who he is. But I want you to know that we can have 100% Looney right now, and I can have 0% Looney in 15 minutes. But that's why you want to go check out playback right now, and then head to Tails. Tails.bet/Lindy. If you guys are looking to jump in and tail any of my stuff, they're on free stuff, VIP stuff all the time there. Hopefully Kevin Herter knocks down a bajillion threes and we keep this party rolling.
link to playback. It is in the YouTube chat, so just go click on that. And we should have that Pelicans starting lineup in the next few minutes. That is key for tonight's slate. So join Josh and I over on playback, and I will see you guys there in a second. Good luck tonight.